So letters that you have to think about. All right, we've got a rectangle and we have an L. And I have to make sure that the L touches these four corners. Does it look possible? Just looking at the letter that's open in the right. It doesn't look possible, but the assignment is it has to touch all four corners. So if something has to do something and it doesn't, you don't meet the requirement, you don't basically get the grade, right? You're not going to fail if that letter doesn't touch because you have to creatively problem solve and figure out how can I make it touch. But we're going to start out looking at, oh, here's the L. I'm going to chunk this out, and I've drawn this negative space in this right-hand corner. Well, I know it's supposed to be small amounts of negative space. So I'm going to move this over because I need to make this smaller so the letter is bigger. I'm still not touching the corner. Can't move it over too much further. So now I'm not quite sure what to do. Ideas. So this is where you're like, but we've been told this is how we make an L. We make an L like this. It's vertical, it's horizontal, it's vertical, it's horizontal. We practiced and we practiced and we practiced, and some of you need more practice. What kind of line is this?
Diagonal.
Oh, can we have a diagonal line?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. So the diagonal line now goes from that point to this point, and we have an L. It doesn't look like this L, but it looks like an L. Now, abstract art is kind of defined as I can identify it, but it doesn't necessarily look normal, right? So it's abstracted a little bit. Okay, so some of your letters may be more abstracted in your designs. Some of them will look like they don't belong, so then you maybe don't choose that shape. But you're going to do a lot of experimenting to see, does it work? Okay, so you have to go from, oh, I've been told to do it this way, but I have to think outside the box. What do I do? Here is the letter S. So a lot of students, these are just kind of showing what I've seen over the years. A lot of students will go, oh, curve in the upper right, curve in the lower left. So, cheese, yes, Swiss cheese. So this right here doesn't necessarily look like as a letter S. It's very abstract. It could probably work like a puzzle piece. But notice this center line. So if we visually put the center line here, this crosses over the center. And this crosses over the center line. So those are trying to get you to visualize what it is. I just drew negative space. That's because it's simpler. It does not mean that I can't come in here and make these letters a little bit more creative by adding some what kind of space? Positive. So you start with a negative, and it doesn't mean as an artist you can't go back in and work on adding some positive. We're just trying to shift our perception and our focus a little bit. So here is a G. A simpler letter is a C. This is where you may want to try the negative space and then come back and draw the positive space. Okay? It's okay to do that, but you've got to kind of get that concept down. So here is a letter, and here is the same letter. These are called serifs. This is called a serif, and they've got those little lines on it. It's part of a type font. You don't have to have that type of letter. You have to decide which kind of J you're going to work on processing. J is a tricky letter. Okay, you need to go through that tricky, uncomfortable zone in order to go, I get it or I don't get it. So that's why, in order to help you, I'm not helping you today. Now listen to the explanation of why. Because if I show you how to draw a letter, you may only draw the letter that way. And I want you to be able to go through that, I'm not quite sure if this is working, and it's a kind of a struggle and a learning process. And then we'll see where you're at. See if we need to make adjustments, see if there's suggestions. You may discover something that's going to work for you better than what I'm going to show you, right? A little bit more creative. And some of you are just going to be like, I'm not quite sure. So give it a shot.